Taking a look at another FOIL problem here. We know it's a FOIL problem because we're multiplying two terms in the left binomial by two terms in the right binomial. So when you multiply a 2 by 2, there are 4 multiplications we need to worry about. There's more going on in this problem, but some pretty nice stuff is going to happen when we start simplifying. So let's go ahead and set it up. The acronym we like to use here is FOIL. It stands for first, outside, inside, last. So if I look at my first terms, that's a 6 root 6 and a root 6. That is the first of our 4 multiplications. Our outside terms, those are the ones furthest away from one another. We have a 6 root 6 and a root 2. Our inside terms are a negative 6 root 2 and a positive root 6. And our last terms, negative 6 root 2 and the square root of 2. And then we have our last term, negative 6 root 2 and a root 2. So at first glance, it does look like there's a bit more going on here because some of these radicals have coefficients. As we start simplifying, some nice things are going to happen. So if I take a look at just this f, if I take a look at the first multiplication, I'm going to add a little bit of color. I've got a 6, a root 6, and another root 6. There's a lot of 6s going on there. So when we multiply those together, the 6 that's the coefficient, the one that's highlighted in yellow, stays outside of the radical. Underneath the radical, we have our product rule, our 6 times 6, which is a 36. Again, that's coming from the ones that I had highlighted both in green and blue. So that 36 is coming from the root 6 times root 6. But the square root of 36, that's a number that we know. The square root of 36 is just 6. So there are, again, a ton of 6s here. The first one is still coming from that 6 that was a coefficient. It hasn't moved at all. That second 6 is coming from the square root of 36. So, hey, we went from having 3 6s down to 2, but 6 times 6 is 36. That's the combination of all the pieces of information that we were given. So a lot happened there. If you got lost in any of those steps, please stop the video here, raise your hand. Happy to come around and help you out there. But that first multiplication simplifies down to 36. The outside terms, same idea, slightly different numbers. We've got a 6 under a radical as well as a 2 under a radical. So I've got a 6 that stays outside, thanks Bill, just like last time, and a root 12 under the radical. Again, that 12 coming from 6 times 2. I could simplify that, but something interesting happens when I jump over to my inside terms. Now I have a negative 6 outside of the radical. 2 times 6 is 12. If you notice, your outside and your inside terms, well, this is like having $6, and then somebody comes along and says, nope, you don't have $6. I'm going to take them away from you. Well, if you have $6 and somebody comes away and takes away your $6, you now have no more dollars. Those cancel. You may see that cancellation even after you simplify. You could have taken that root 12 and broken it up into a root 4 and a root 3, so on and so forth. You still would have seen that cancellation later on, but if you notice it early, feel free to cancel out those terms early. It does save us some work simplifying in the long run. So that was pretty nice. Our last term, unfortunately, things aren't going to cancel here. We have a negative 6 on the outside, just like we've had for the previous 3 multiplications. We also have a root 2 times a root 2, which is the same as root 4. Well, the square root of 4 is 2. Hopefully that's one that we do have by now. Square root of 4 is 2. And negative 6 times 2 is a negative 12. So there's a lot of work that happened here, but when it's all said and done, I've got a whole number, 36. And from that, I'm subtracting the whole number, 12. And 36 minus 12, that's a 24.